Have you ever been in a conversation with someone who is just, like, trying so incredibly hard to influence you?
Oh, yeah. Like they're trying to charm you, but it feels off.
Exactly. You can almost feel the gears turning in their head, you know?
Right. Like they're running a script.
Yes. And instead of being drawn to them, your brain just flashes this massive warning light. You instantly know you're being managed.
It's such a specific, uncomfortable feeling.
It really is. So to figure out why we're so hypersensitive to that kind of calculation and I guess how to build actual influence, instead we're jumping into a new deep dive today.
And we've got some amazing source material for this one.
We really do. We are looking at this fascinating document called Day 182, The Difference Between Seduction and Magnetism. And it tries to solve this exact human puzzle by throwing some fiercely contradictory minds into the exact same room.
It's a wildly eclectic mix.
I mean, we've got the modern strategist Robert Greene sitting right next to the ancient Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius.
Right, which is already a crazy pairing.
And then you add the management theorist Peter Drucker and the actress Catherine O'Hara.
It's brilliant, honestly, because they are all trying to isolate that specific mechanism, the thing that separates a performance we can just see right through, from a presence we are genuinely naturally drawn to.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the source material starts right out of the gate with this massive tension. It basically puts two completely opposite philosophies of human behavior into a boxing ring.
Yeah, it's quite the showdown.
On one side, you have Robert Greene,
Yeah.
and he's famous for dissecting the psychology of power and, well, seduction.
Right, his whole approach is highly strategic.
Highly. I mean, it involves penetrating hearts and minds, casting spells, treating life as this theater where you are carefully managing your image to, manipulate an audience.
It's a deeply Machiavellian framework, really. Green's premise is basically that human beings are fundamentally susceptible to illusion.
Right.
So if you pull the right psychological levers, you can completely orchestrate their reactions.
Which makes sense on paper. But then, on the completely opposite end of the spectrum, the essay brings in Marcus Aurelius.
The ultimate stoic.
Literally the ultimate Stoic, and his entire philosophy essentially boils down to just do your job.
Right, forget the audience entirely.
Exactly. Whatever anyone else says or does, just show your true colors. So one approach is entirely about how you manipulate the external world, and the other is this absolute insistence on internal character, even if no one is watching.
Which creates a huge paradox for the reader.
Right. Wait, I struggle to see how these even fit together in a single coherent argument. I mean, how do we reconcile a manual for manipulation with a manual for moral integrity?
What's fascinating here is that the resolution actually comes from Robert Greene himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you read him closely, the master of strategy ends up essentially conceding the game to Marcus Aurelius.
Wow.
Greene admits that calculated seduction ultimately has a ceiling. He notes that if you engage in way too much calculation, people can, and this is his phrase, they can smell your coldness.
Smell your coldness. Oh, that is so good. That perfectly isolates the psychological mechanism behind that ick factor we were just talking about.
It really does.
Because when someone is running an algorithm on you, you aren't actually interacting with a human being anymore. You're interacting with a strategy.
Exactly. And the human nervous system is just incredibly adept at detecting those subtle incongruities in behavior.
Like
What?
microexpressions.
Microexpressions, vocal tone, pacing, all of it. When someone is calculating their next move just to manage your perception of them, their presence fragments.
Oh, I see.
They are literally split between the script running in their head and the actual person standing in front of them. And that fragmentation reads to our nervous system as a potential threat.
Which is why it feels cold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Greene argues that the only technique that truly works in the long run is when the technique just disappears. True influence has to rely on bringing out natural, latent qualities. It has to operate from the inside out.
Which sets up Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
And this profound analogy he uses about an emerald.
Oh, I love the emerald analogy.
It's so good. He writes that an emerald doesn't have to calculate how to look green.
Yay.
It doesn't analyze the lighting in the room or read the mood of the people looking at it and then adjust its strategy to maximize its greenness.
It simply is green.
Consistently, regardless of where you put it.
And that consistency of character is the true draw. That's the magnetism. Greene is essentially trying to reverse engineer the gravity that someone like Marcus Aurelius possesses naturally.
Right. Greene is observing the mechanics from the outside.
Exactly. Mapping out what draws people in, while Marcus is describing the internal engine that actually generates it. True magnetism isn't a technique you apply to other people. It is a byproduct of integrity.
It's just the profound consistency of being the exact same person, regardless of the external weather.
Yes, that kind of coherence isn't manipulation, it's gravity.
I love that. But it reminds me of this analogy from the sports world that the source material touches on. This is just like a coach giving a team a borrowed, cliche motivational speech, right?
Right, like something they saw in a movie.
Exactly. And the players just roll their eyes because they know it's a performance.
So I have to push back a little here. Is Green basically just approaching this from the audience's side? You know, what draws people in while Marcus approaches it from the actor's side, like what you owe yourself?
That is a really great way to put it. And yes, the coach who gives the borrowed speech is Green's seducer failing. But the coach who actually does the inner work and shows up consistently, loss after loss, living their values, that's the emerald. That's magnetism.
Okay, so what does this all mean when we move past individual philosophy? Because the source material takes a huge pivot next.
It really does.
It takes this deeply individual concept of the emerald, of internal stoic integrity, and suddenly pivots to Peter Drucker.
The legendary corporate management consultant.
Right, so you're taking an individual philosophy of being an emerald and slapping corporate management theory on it. Aren't we mixing oil and water here? I mean, Drucker's about profit margins and market share, and Green and Aurelius are talking about human psychology. I know, it looks like a total mismatch on the surface, but the underlying mechanism is actually identical.
Really? How so?
Because we are talking about coherence. If individual magnetism requires an undivided character, how do you scale that?
Oh, I see.
How do you get a group of 50 or 500 people to possess that same irresistible consistency? Drucker argued that an organization simply cannot endure without what he called the theory of the business.
Right. And this theory requires crystal clear answers to three foundational questions, right?
Right, exactly.
Environment, mission, and core competencies.
Correct. So first, what is its environment? This dictates what the organization is actually being paid to do and the reality of the market it operates in.
Okay.
Second, what is its mission? Like, what actually counts as a meaningful result for this specific group? And third, what are its core competencies? Where must it absolutely excel in order to maintain its leadership?
Okay, I follow the definitions. But the essay points out that when a group loses clarity on those three things, they don't just, like, explode in a fiery bankruptcy.
No, it's much quieter than that.
They stagnate. But why? Why does a lack of those three specific answers cause a company to drift?
Because without those shared answers, you lose organizational coherence. Think about the mechanism. If a team doesn't agree on what constitutes a meaningful result, every single decision becomes a negotiation.
Oh, wow.
Every meeting is a subtle turf war. The individuals in the group start optimizing for their own survival or status rather than a shared objective.
They start calculating.
Exactly. They start managing optics.
Which means the entire organization starts operating like Green's cold seducer.
Yes. This is exactly why the essay brings Drucker into the conversation. When a company lacks a clear theory of the business, the collective nervous system of the organization spikes.
Because everyone is on edge.
Right. It feels fragmented to the employees, and it feels cold and calculated to the customers. Coherence is what seduction aims for when you strip away the creepy manipulation. We are drawn to something whole.
So, if we apply this Drucker architecture directly to a sports team, like the text does, the mechanism becomes super clear.
Definitely.
A team has to ask those exact same three questions. What are we actually for? Are we here just to win at all costs? Or are we here to develop character and community?
Right. What's the mission?
Exactly. What is a meaningful result this season? Is it only a championship title? Or is it building a foundation that lasts for the next 5 years? And then where must we excel?
Is it physical conditioning, defensive rotations, togetherness?
Yes. And if a team doesn't answer those questions, they might look amazing in August when talent alone carries them.
Oh, for sure.
But by November, they go flat. They lose their gravity because they haven't decided what kind of emerald they're actually trying to be.
They lack a shared internal compass. And just like the individual, an organization cannot calculate its way to true magnetism. It has to know who it is, what it is doing, and how it does it. That clarity is the organizational equivalent of Marcus Aurelius's integrity.
But there's a paradox here.
What do you mean?
Well, if you and I, or the teams we lead, are supposed to be consistent like an emerald, what do we do when we haven't actually achieved that level of excellence yet?
Ah, right.
How do you just be yourself when your current self isn't ready for the room you're in? The essay brings in this quote from the actress Catherine O'Hara that seems to address this, but honestly confused me at first.
The self-respect quote.
Yeah. She says, even before you've earned it, treat yourself and your career with the level of respect you one day hope to deserve.
It's a great quote.
It is. But wait, treating yourself with respect before you have the results to back it up sounds an awful lot like faking it. Isn't that just a different kind of performance?
This raises an important question. There's a very fine line between faking it for an audience and practicing an internal standard.
Okay, break that down for me.
Faking it is about managing external perception. That's Green's theater. What O'Hara is describing is an internal orientation. You are demanding a level of rigor from yourself before the external world validates it.
Oh, I see.
The Daily Stoic material points to Aristotle and Will Durant to clarify this. They note that arete, the Greek concept of moral, physical, and spiritual excellence, is not an act. It is a habit. You don't just wake up one day as an emerald. You build it.
That reminds me of the philosopher Epictetus. He has a great line in the text about this. He says, capability grows through corresponding actions. You learn it walking by walking and running by running.
Right, it's action-based.
Which totally aligns with the modern logic of marginal gains.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Getting 1% better every day, grabbing the low-hanging fruit, doing the hard thing to make the easy thing easier.
Exactly.
But O'Hara's concept of holding an unearned standard... Wait, is her concept of self-respect actually just inward discomfort tolerance?
Mm-hmm.
Because acting like the person you're building toward before the results have arrived to justify it feels incredibly uncomfortable, like imposter syndrome on purpose.
That's exactly what it is. And it is supposed to be uncomfortable. In fact, that discomfort is the training ground. Yeah. The Stoics were famous for deliberately rehearsing discomfort. Cato, the Roman senator, would deliberately dress in weird, out-of-style tunics and walk around barefoot.
Just for fun.
No, just so people would laugh at him.
Yeah.
And Seneca, who was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, would practice living on meager rations in absolute poverty for a few days every month.
Wow.
Marcus Aurelius would mentally rehearse being completely misunderstood and betrayed by his closest allies.
Okay, I understand the philosophical romance of that, but what is the actual biological utility of making yourself miserable on purpose?
It's about regulating your nervous system.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it. When you face ridicule or poverty or betrayal, your brain perceives a threat to your survival and triggers a fight or flight response.
Yeah.
Cortisol floods your system. You panic.
Right.
And when you panic, you calculate. You try to manipulate your way out of the danger.
You become the cold seducer.
Exactly. By rehearsing these scenarios, the Stoics were essentially exposing themselves to the venom to build immunity. Practicing this discomfort means you don't have to perform strength in real time because you aren't constantly negotiating with your own nervous system.
No, that makes so much sense. If Cato has already walked through Rome being laughed at, then later, when he's debating a controversial law in the Senate and people mock him, his nervous system stays flat.
Precisely. Discomfort is no longer a threat. It is familiar terrain.
He doesn't have to perform strength because he's already metabolized the fear. That completely recontextualizes the Janet Malcolm example in the essay for me.
Oh, the boundaries example.
Yes. Malcolm, the famous journalist, is praised in the text for her ability to deliver a polite, firm no thank you to invitations. And crucially, she did it without softening the rejection with what she called frilly-girly things.
Right, she didn't over-explain or apologize profusely.
She didn't buffer her boundaries to protect the other person's feelings or manage their perception of her.
And delivering a firm no without buffering requires an enormous amount of internal discomfort tolerance. Most of us pad our rejections because we simply cannot tolerate the slight, acute discomfort of disappointing someone.
We want to control their reaction. We want them to still like us.
Exactly. That is a microversion of Green's cold seduction. We are managing the optics.
It's calculating.
Precisely the opposite of Malcolm's approach. Her ability to just say no is the emerald. It simply is what it is. The quote, the source material weaves in here are perfect. Like Buddha saying, it is better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles.
And Socrates, let him that would move the world first move himself.
Right. They are pointing to this exact discipline. You conquer your own nervous system's desperate need for approval so that you can simply exist in reality without needing to manipulate it.
Which brings us to the final destination of all this intense inner work.
Mm.
I mean, we've talked about clarifying your core competencies, rehearsing discomfort, building these grueling habits. Where does this actually lead you?
Well, the essay introduces a concept from Meister Eckhart, a 14th century mystic who said, "To the quiet mind, all things are possible."
A quiet mind. That completely reframes the goal.
It connects directly to the coaching philosophy mentioned in the text too: calm body, quiet mind. The ultimate goal of the Stoic rehearsal, of Drucker's organizational clarity, of Malcolm's firm boundaries, is to achieve that quiet mind.
A quiet mind isn't scrambling.
Right, it isn't running algorithms on the people around it. A quiet mind makes room for you to perceive what is actually true in a situation, and then act on that truth without friction.
I want to try out an analogy here.
Go for it.
It feels like a gyroscope inside a ship.
Oh, I like that.
The gyroscope doesn't try to stop the ocean from moving. It doesn't attempt to manipulate the waves. It just spins incredibly fast, generating this immense internal stability so that no matter how violently the ship is tossed around by the storm, it remains upright. The quiet mind isn't about controlling the environment. It's about maintaining absolute internal equilibrium.
That is an incredibly accurate way to visualize it. The essay actually brings in the German physicist Georg Christoph Lichtenberg to describe the trajectory of reaching that equilibrium.
What does he say?
Lichtenberg says the arc of wisdom starts by questioning everything and ends by coming to terms with everything.
Oh, wow. Questioning everything is like looking at Green's seduction and realizing it's cynical.
Yeah.
And coming to terms with everything is Marcus Aurelius demanding that you accept reality and remain an undivided person within it.
Exactly. But there's a massive pivot at the very end of the source material.
There is.
It introduces an element that keeps this entire philosophy from just becoming a different, more sophisticated kind of coldness.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The text brings in the author Laurie McMurtry, who describes the vast plains as a boneyard, pretty in sunlight.
It's such a stark image.
It's this image of sun-bleached bones, the ultimate equalizer. And the text details how Marcus Aurelius, who was naturally this austere, introverted, bookish scholar, had to deliberately learn how to be an emperor who was full of love. So I have to pause here. Are we really saying that you do all this rigid, stoic inner work? You walk around in weird tunics, you build these rigorous habits, you define your corporate mission, just to realize that we all end up in the exact same boneyard anyway, and the real secret to everything is just learning to actually care about people?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the answer is yes. But the mechanism of how those two things are connected is the key to this entire deep dive.
How so?
You cannot genuinely care about people if your mind is constantly panicking.
Because if you're panicking, you're only thinking about your own survival.
Exactly the point. Green's seducer looks at a room full of people and sees objects to be manipulated to ensure their own status or safety.
Right.
Marcus Aurelius, when forced into absolute power over an empire, discovered that real influence requires the exact opposite orientation. The Stoic version of penetrating hearts and minds is not casting spells.
It's the gyroscope.
Yes. It is doing the grueling interior work spinning that gyroscope so that you possess the quiet mind required to choose patience, to choose fairness. Empathy and love are not passive, fluffy feelings. For a leader, the heart has to be strengthened like a muscle.
Because choosing patience is not naturally easy when a team is losing, or an employee is failing, or the market is crashing.
It requires immense emotional bandwidth. Leadership demands that strength. You do the hard inner work so that when you stand in front of your team or your family, your nervous system is regulated.
You aren't reacting out of fear.
Right. You aren't calculating how to manage their perception of you. You have the bandwidth to actually care about what happens to them. The boneyard is a reminder that the only thing of actual substance we leave behind is how we treated the people in a room with us.
Wow. We have covered incredible ground today.
We really have.
We started with the absolute coldness of calculated manipulation. You know, that undeniable ick feeling when someone is running a script on you. And we traveled all the way to the enduring magnetism of pure integrity.
It's quite a journey.
It is. You've learned that whether you are trying to turn around a stagnating company, lead a sports team, or just manage your own life, you don't need to cast spells. You need coherence.
Absolutely.
You need the clarity of Peter Drucker's 3 questions so your team stops panicking and negotiating. You need the daily habits of discomfort that train your nervous system to tolerate reality without buffering it.
Because all of that builds the calm body, quiet mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that naturally draws people in. Genuine care for the people standing right in front of you today in the sunlight is the only magnetism that is actually worth having. As the essay concludes, play hard, play smart, play together.
And to leave you with one final thought to mull over, let's return to Marcus Aurelius's emerald. An emerald doesn't exhaust itself trying to calculate how to look green. It just is. So consider your own life. What is your true color that you are currently wasting exhausting amounts of energy trying to perform for an audience instead of just trusting yourself to be?
What a great question to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning, keep learning, and we'll see you next time. Stay curious.